Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks with the Captain, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the $50 Lion German heavy tank. This tank is actually one of my favorite tanks. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do. Generally, we'll just talk about the stats, a little bit about the tank. This thing you can buy for gold, or you can buy it directly out of the store. It is the tier 8 heavy tank, thus it will generate the most amount of credits out of all the premium tanks in the game. I found this generates a lot more credits than my Super Pershing because you really don't need to shoot premium rounds at virtually anything unless you're really shooting at stuff that's super heavily armored like an E3. So we'll look at the stats. For a tier 8 heavy tank, it's actually got quite a lot of hit points, about 150 more than like your equivalent like Tiger 2. Actually, no, it's like an IS-3 is going up 1,500. So hit point wise, it's got about 150 more than like an IS-3, which is nice. It's also been snacking on a lot of sausages. It weighs about 90 tons. So if you go to a party and you decide to take the Lion with you, you're probably going to be the last one there. Even though it has an 800 horsepower engine, this tank is slow as balls. Think of like Churchill 3 as equivalent of how well this thing moves. It says 35. That's a 35 going downhill with a whole bunch of German soldiers pushing you in the back. It rarely ever hits 35, so you don't expect to see that. See more around 18 to 22 as his actual top speed. Traversing speed is also not a strong suit of 24, so it doesn't actually turn very well either. If this thing was Soviet, it would turn at 30, but it's not. So it's also its passability, even with these wide tracks and stuff, it gets bogged down in soft and medium terrain. It doesn't have very good passability. From my experience, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but the soft stats from what I can tell is this thing is mobility-wise quite hampered. You get passed by just about every other tank except for a Super Pershing on the battlefield. The turret traverse is 23, so the turret isn't the fastest moving either, so you're really going to have to be smart with how you play this tank. And the play style for me is to really just be a sniper. The view range, you have 400, so the view range is fantastic for a tier 8 heavy tank. It's a lot better than some of them. And your signal range is 710, so you've got a typical pretty decent German radio. Lastly, we'll take a look at the armor and then the gun. The armor, you've got 120 on the upper plate. Your lower plate is one of your generic weak spots, wargaming weak spots on all the tanks. You'll get the customary engine fires if you shoot here because they're idiotic transmission fire mechanics. So you'll want to try and hide this as much as you can with rocks or rubble or getting hull down because the upper plate is actually quite hard to get through. But you'll find big guns shooting heat rounds will be able to just pierce right through this, especially like 268s and even ISU 152s and stuff. Some of them can just punch right through your upper plate. So it's good that it's 120, but it's not the end all be all, even though it is fairly well sloped. Your side armor has been buffed. It used to be 80, now it's 100. So if you can angle your tank at a fairly steep angle, you'll have to make people make a choice. Like, am I going to try and pen the side, or do I want to try and go for the lower plate? If you can get them to shoot at this, then it's going to be angled enough that they're not going to pierce your side. But you have to do the angle dance sometimes to make people guess where they should shoot. The turret. Well, one more thing with the armor. The side armor is strong enough that you can side scrape like a boss in this tank. That's one other thing to take into account. You've also got more of a frontal turret, so you could reverse side scrape if you wanted. That is also useful. The turret armor is a blessing and a bit of a curse. Your weak spot, I haven't really found this as a place where people shoot at me when I'm driving this tank. It's not that high, it's not very big, and especially from far away, it's quite hard to hit. Your cheeks are fairly heavily sloped, but what I have found is people will shoot right around here and down here. And sometimes they will just shoot straight at your gun and break your gun. The gun is a little bit finicky as far as taking gun damage. I've found that my gun gets blasted so much to the point where I will take track damage and sit there and get repaired, because I know that eventually I will probably have my gun be damaged. I've had it happen 2 or 3 times in a game, and I've finished games where I've repaired my gun and then have it broken again, and then had to finish the game with a broken gun. But it doesn't happen every game, but it's a little bit more. It happens a little bit more than I would like. The tank also has the same side shot ammo rack problems that most German tanks have. So don't let them shoot you in the sides. Don't give them this huge target, because the Lion is a very, very big target. But otherwise, the turret's actually quite strong. If you can get hull down, most stuff will just bounce off the top and bounce off the sides. The gun mantlet is quite strong. There is a little bit that can happen with the shot trap mechanic. I'm not sure how well this is accurately represented in the game, but potentially a shot could come in here, bounce off the mantlet and down into the tank. Whether that actually works and stuff is up for debate. I haven't really found it to be much of an issue, but some people might talk about it like it really is. I'm not going to be one of those people, though, because I don't really find it to be too much of a problem. Lastly, we'll take a look at the gun. There is only one gun because this is a premium tank, and you've got a 105mm gun with a rate of fire of 5, so you're going to be shooting right around every about 9.8 seconds, about 10 seconds. So that's not super fantastic, but what you do get is awesome average penetration. You get 235 just with your normal AP rounds and almost 300 with APCR. So that's one of the strongest things about this tank, is it's got pretty much like E100 penetration with its AP rounds on a tier 8 tank. It just takes quite a long to reload. You only do about 320 damage, so you're not going to be outputting a whole ton when you do hit, but the gun is super accurate, 0.33. I find this thing doesn't sling shells anywhere near as much as some other tanks that I have that say 0.33. My Indian Panzer seems to sling shells into nowhere a lot more often than this thing does, but maybe that's just my color tinted glasses or something. But 2.8 aiming time, so the aim time isn't too bad. Most of the time you're not going to be right in the grill of somebody, so you can take your time. I definitely recommend that you do let it aim, and most of the time this gun will reward you with a gift of 320 damage to the enemy team. So I think one of the best things about this tank generally is the gun. The gun pretty much makes this tank. The armor is okay. If you're side scraping, it's actually quite good. If you can stay between 300 and 500 meters away from whatever you're shooting at and be a fire support tank, that's where this thing excels. If you're getting up close and personal with IS-3s and stuff, you're pretty much doing this tank wrong. You don't necessarily want to do that. You can. Nothing is stopping you. But it's not a strong suit. One other thing to take into account is the tank's fairly high, and if you do engage an IS-3, you can shoot down on him onto the top of his turret or his pike nose fairly easily, because you have decent gun depression. I think it's -7. I will double check that. But the gun depression is actually not too bad on this tank, but you have to take into account how slow the turret is. It's not the fastest turret in the world. So module wise, I've taken a large caliber tank gun rammer because I want to reload as fast as I can, and I've also taken vertical stabilizer because I want my aiming reticle to be as small as I can, because stopping and getting ready to shoot is kind of the thing with this tank for me. And I've actually taken a gun laying drive because I want to speed up the aim time. Alternatively, I could take vents, but I find loading and aiming are what is basically the recipe for this tank to do well, in my opinion. I could take vents, I could take optics, but without optics, you're a little bit more beholden to using your own view range, as well as relying on your scouts to do a good job. And you never know. Each game is different when you don't know what kind of scouting you're going to get. But for the most part, this thing is great for training up crews. I've got a Tiger 2, so I've used my Lion to train up my Tiger 2 crew to almost a 3-skill crew now. This is my brand new E75. So I've been training up my crew recently, my E75 crew with my Lion, and it works fairly well in that regard. Lastly, we'll talk about the ammos. I mostly take about 60 AP rounds and 10 APCR and 10 HE rounds, just in case I need to try and do an extra 20-30 damage just to finish somebody out. It does hold quite a lot of ammo, so you'll be able to hold 70, 80 rounds, which is nice. Lastly, we'll just talk about the price. I think that the tank is completely overpriced. I don't think any of these tanks, I mean, it's just a model. It's the same model that you pay for all the free tanks, and it's just like, why is this tank $56? That's how much it is, like, regular price. And I also think they've shadow increased all the prices without really telling anyone. The Super Pershing used to be like $29. Now it's $36, and when it goes on sale, it drops down to like $32. So I think the prices they charge for the premium tanks are outrageous. This tank does have the capability of making like $100,000 to $180,000 in a really decent game, but at the end of the day, I still think $56 is the price you could pay for a brand new game that has taken a team 4 years to make. Like, it's just a little bit much. I think that this tank maximum should be like $20 or $30. A lot more. I guess they wanted the exclusivity or whatever, but I just don't agree with the pricing structure. But I'm not going to bang on about that for too long. I just don't think it's very appropriate. But yeah, we'll jump to some battles, and you can see what the Lion is like when it's duking it out. Alright, so this is the Lion on Ruinberg. This is a fairly quick game. It didn't last super long. My team was extremely bad, and I was the only one who really did any damage in this game. What it does showcase is the Lion's ability to side scrape. I will rack up a fairly decent amount of blocked by armor damage in this game. So I'm just angling my tank to pull out. Put one in the T-30-45. He did actually damage me on that first shot, but he didn't damage me with that one. And as you can see, not even sure where that shot went in. Who knows? Oh, it hit me in the left side. Looks like it penetrated through the left side. Didn't look like I was angled that badly, but it ended up going in. So I was hit by the AT-8, but again, didn't do any damage. So I'm going to pull out, I'm going to side scrape, fully aim my shot. Low roll for 308 into the top of his hatch. So shooting at a hull down AT-8, probably not the best idea. So I'm going to pull back, and I see that there's heavy tanks coming around this corner, so I'm going to try and intercept them. The only other guy on my team that is supposed to be good is this PB Capt guy. Typically they're fairly strong, but he's in a tier 6 tank and he's getting owned. He shouldn't have moved into that position by himself because he didn't have any backup, and there was 2 tanks there waiting for him. So I'm going to pull up, put one on the upper plate or the lower plate of the Tiger 1. I'm going to angle, wait for the T-34 to pop out again. Come on, you can do it. Come on, champ. Come on, champ. So at this rate, I can see that we're losing pretty harshly. It's 2-6, and I haven't done really a lot yet, but this isn't really a map that I like to play with the Lion. There aren't a lot of really long sight lines. There isn't too much opportunity to be using the tank how it's really supposed to be used. So I'm trying to just stay here, but their team is playing... I wouldn't say their team's playing passively since they've moved up more than our team has, but I haven't really had the chance to play how I want yet. So I know these guys are now going to probably come around the corner because there's only one TD that they haven't killed yet on that side. So I put one into the T-34, he bounces on me. And you can see that there's a Tiger there. But again, I'm going to put one in the T-34. And again, I was able to bounce that one going off the upper plate. And then I'm going to put another one right into the front of his tank. Going to back up. And now I'm going to side scrape out again. Bounce another shot. Target of opportunity there. Hopefully someone else can finish him off. And the jaws of death are closing on me. I bounce another shot. Back up. Low roll again into his lower plate. And things are slowly going to turn bad for me soon, because there's not enough tanks to support me. I take a shot from that fella, but now I'm getting flanked in the side by the Tiger. And I take a side shot when I turn. Put a nice one into the Tiger there. And now there's a Hellcat shooting me. Now I get a transmission fire. There's not much I can do now. Bounce a couple more shots, and I'm done. So that's kind of what can happen in a game where you've got a really garbage team and they don't know what they're doing. Not to say I played amazingly or anything, but me going around that corner up there probably would have just meant my death a lot quicker. So I just tried to drag the game out and do as much damage as I could. I ended up doing about 3,500 damage this game and 2,100 blocked by armor, and I think it was a high caliber medal. So played properly in side scraping and just trying to hide the lower plate. The Lion can actually bounce stuff, but you want to stay as far away from enemy tanks as possible. This is a very up close engagement, not the best way to play. But on Runeberg, there isn't really too many other places to go. So this isn't the best map for this tank, but I think it shows a little bit about what the armor can do if you angle it properly and you try and hide the fairly large glaring weak points of the tank. Alright, so we've loaded into Murvanka, and this is about the medium kind of blend of matchmaking you can get in this tank. You do see tier 10s. In this game it's only tier 9s. And as you can see, going cross country on this kind of mushy terrain, I'm only doing about 23. It is nowhere near the 35 that it says. And when you turn, you see I scrubbed off like 4 or 5 kilometers per hour. So everything, even this Yag Tiger 88 is passing me. I'm up to 27, but that's about as much as this tank is capable of doing in a straight line. This is a map that is a little bit more suitable to the Lion's gameplay, just because it has lots of straight lines of sight. You can snipe quite decently on this map. And I did have a shot at Johnny Lion here. So I took it. And unfortunately for me, he was able to shoot me in the very back part of my tank right there and did a little tiny bit of damage to me. And then the other Lion was there. He put a shot into me, which bounced, but then something else hit me. So now I'm down to 1,100 hit points, and I haven't even crossed the field yet. And that's all pretty much comes down to the fact that I stopped to take that shot at that Lion that I maybe shouldn't have. And don't know what happened to that shell. Still experiencing a lot of ghost shells and bad server lag. Fairly consistently. Right, so it looks like we've got an M46 Patton that is making his way over into the middle of the field. So I am going to side scrape out and see if I can get a shot at him, but my angle's a little bit, it's exposing me a little bit too much, and I know that there's enemy tanks in the middle of the map right now. So we've got a T-34-1, I try and shoot him on the move. It's a bit of a snapshot, wasn't going to go in. So I got a very narrow shot at this guy here, so I'm fully aimed in. Get a really nice shot in on that guy, knocked his engine out, set him on fire, now he's dead, 1 kill for me. Reversing is also not the strong suit of the line. It can only do about 14, 15 in reverse. It's not the fastest tank to be reversing in. You can see the traverse speed really is not fast either. So we've gotten to the point that mobility is not the strong suit of the line. But its gun and accuracy are. And most of the time, its side armor holds up better than it has in this game. So we'll just wait a little bit longer, speed this up before things start to hit the fan a little bit more. And I really don't like to use this tank as a breaching tank, and it doesn't work well. You don't have the ability to shoot fast enough to really shoot your way out of dangerous places, so I don't know where that shot went. Now I'm going to get shot at by the 5120. Managed to bounce a shot, and he's dead, but I took another 300 damage. But did bounce a shot, so that was nice. Looks like it hit the bottom part of my gun mantlet. One of the strongest parts in the tank. Luckily, it didn't bounce into the upper hull. So I got good gun depression, and you can pen in Indian Panzer no problem shooting down onto him. So I'm going to pull back and start aiming in again. Somehow him turning his tracks like that made his tracks eat the shot, and he didn't take any damage, and it didn't even look like he got tracked or he might have taken track damage, but a bit stupid there. I'm always pretty annoyed when you do damage and then you don't do any tracking, like actual damage when you do tracking shots. I mean, it's knocking the tracks off the tank, like that should do damage to the tank. So I want to try and support our T-29 since he's the only tank that's forward right now. And I can see the Leopard prototype was coming around to try and help this flank on the enemy team. So I just pre-aimed for where I thought he was going to show up. And nobody showed up. They do have a fairly nasty artillery, and since this thing isn't super fast, it can take damage from artillery fairly easily as well, because it's large, like fairly easy to hit. So I got lucky there, and my tracks ate his shot, but I did get tracked, unlike the Indian Panzer, who just has magic non-tracking abilities. So our T-29 and our STA are moving up that side, so I thought I'd just take a look around to see what was in the middle of the map. Because there was a Leopard PTA there, but there is a T-54A1 and an E-75 left on their team, so we still got to be pretty careful. But it's good to know that we've... Uh-oh, an IS-6. Got an absolutely average roll into him. And I don't know where he's going. I thought, sure. I don't know what he's doing. But now we've got the full health E75 coming this way, and I'm at less than half health, so that's bad for me. Especially because he's fully upgraded. But it looks like these guys are ready to fight it out, and I've got a Jagdtiger 88 that can help me. So I'm trying to find this IS-6 because I'm worried about him shooting me in the side, because I'd like to engage this E-75 if I could. Unfortunately, he's reversing and didn't really feel like dropping in front of him and taking 500 damage. And the I-6 did decide to try and come all the way around. He puts one into the Jagdtiger 88. And I make a bit of a tactical choice here that I was going to try and help the Jagdtiger against the IS-6, but that... Well, the Leopard prototype died, but it meant that the E-75 could drive up on the hill and get my back, which was bad. So I take a fairly hefty hit, and that IS-6 is running away. He's got way better mobility than him. I'm not going to be able to chase him down. So it's only an E-75 now, but he just took a pretty massive hit. Bunch of hits. So he's down at 770. So let's try and keep some pressure on him. But, damn it, he seems hell-bent on coming around this way. So I'm going to keep backing up and see if I can get support from my T-54E1. So I'm backing up, I'm backing up, I'm backing up. Put a shot into him, angle hard, and the tracks eat the shot. That was pretty lucky. And I managed to get the snapshot into that E-75 and take him out. So I'm up to 3 kills. Done a fairly okay amount of damage so far. But it would have been better for me if I hadn't taken that E-75 shot by going after that IS-6. But I did think that IS-6 may have tried to push into the Jagdtiger 88. So bit of a tactical blah on my part, but not too much left to see in this game. I decided to drive across the map and help our tank destroyers that were still at base. And I didn't really have much of a shot at this guy, so I just kept driving forward. Another thing you'll find is that the Tiger, or not the Tiger, but the Lion at the end of the game, it doesn't really have the mobility to get in there to clean up and get cleanup damage on the enemy tanks. So I'm driving forward, still only doing about 20. My tracks are beat up, so it's probably slowing me down. I'm running over stuff and knocking over trees and everything. But looks like I'll get one more shot into this Tiger. But he just disappeared. Got one more shot into him. Will I get one more? And the answer is yes! Now there's only one tank left. Let's go find him. Now I thought he might be hiding in the trees behind the houses, but I guess he was actually off to the left. He was over here, and yes, this shot did go in. Bam! He takes down one of our guys, and he could easily kill me in one hit, but I decided to stay up anyway. I'm pretty sure I was spotted. I thought he was in the same spot, but he had actually moved. Unfortunately for me, I'm not going to get one more shot into him. We're going to cap out and win this game. But I got fairly lucky. The big fat tracks do manage to eat shots fairly often. You can see that the lower plate took a hit there. The gun mantlet has a few scratches on it. And I got hit in the side a few times. But the health pool helped me stay alive, as well as just the accuracy of the gun. And it does decent amount of damage. I really wish the German guns did more like 400 damage, but that's not something that's ever going to happen. So, pretty okay game. I don't think I did more than like 2,000 or 3,000 damage, but again, managed to block some shots and show that the gun's pretty accurate. Alright, this is going to be the last replay, and this is one of the better games I've had in the Lion as far as damage output goes. My highest damage output so far has only been 4,100, and that was only good enough for a first class mastery badge. I still haven't mastered this tank yet, so I was kind of hoping that I would get that at some point, but I guess people are doing 5,000 damage in this tank. I typically can do at least 1,500 to 3,000. It's just, it's an accurate tank, and I'm going to hit this Tiger too. just like that. And that was a pretty long range shot. Like, that was like 400 or 500 meters. So the problem for me is I have shots here, so I'm not really too keen on moving if I don't need to. Get a really crappy roll into him, but it did knock his tracks off. And I'm shooting down onto his upper plate, so I'm fairly confident stuff's going to go in. And again, I'm getting this 1375, driving around into spots where I'm pretty sure I can shoot him. And that shot missed, unfortunately. He's rocking back and forth like he's autistic. And come on. Come on. Nice. So that one hurt. Now he's only got a little bit left. I can just breathe on him and he'll die. But he gets taken down. And then, lo and behold, I get a Tiger II. He's just gifting his tank to me, I think. So I'm going to get in position to shoot him as he comes across this open space. I'm all zoomed in. Very small aiming circle. Clip him in the back, do a nice 350 damage to him. I'm going to just reverse out this way, and he just gives me the back of his tank. I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to achieve there. Driving through the middle of Northwest is kind of like a death sentence. You just don't really want to do it. I mean, all these stupid maps that Wargaming makes that are all heavily bold to the outside, like where you can shoot into the middle, I just don't really particularly think they're that greatly designed. This is the most upgraded version of Northwest, and I like going up to the top a lot more than anywhere else. But yeah, I still find the middle of the map of Northwest is kind of just a useless area. They might as well just fill it with water like they do with half their old maps, because no one goes there. The only time anyone goes there is typically like if it's a light tank and they just want to try and blitz the base. So now that we'd taken care of most of the enemy team, I decided to go down and support our team in the lower part of the map. And so this is where the line can actually reach 35, going downhill on like a 30-degree slope. So I'm getting down here, and I have a choice. I can shoot at the Yag Tiger, or I can shoot at the Conqueror. So I choose the Conqueror. And the IS-3 basically has no frontal armor, so I'm going to put a shot into him. Nice high roll of 370. Pull back. And this is the perfect range where these guys can't really shoot me very consistently, and I can shoot them. That Conqueror probably could hit me, but that shot went fully to the right, far to the farthest right of the aiming circle that it possibly could. So, not cool there, but can aim at the lower plate, the Conqueror, put one into him. Lower chassis of the Conqueror is basically Carnarvon, so the lower plate is weak, but the upper plate is actually quite strong. Again, accuracy of the tank lets me shoot at the weak spots of those tanks. Even from about 300 meters, pretty easy to hit the weak spots. So I'm going to pull out, take the tracks off the Yag Tiger. I just got to try and delay them now because we're in the cap. We kind of pulled it even, 7-7, but their tanks aren't really in a position to get back. Once you get into this lower area, it's hard to get out. And the Yag Tiger took a shot at my turret. It didn't go in. And now I'm just trying to angle and make it annoying for him to shoot me. So I put another one into his lower plate. Now I'm just going to back up. And it looks like we're going to cap it out. So that was about 3,700 damage, and I only took one hit, which happened to be that one right there. Probably went through the strongest armor on the tank. Most of the time the seams on the front are the strongest armor, but the Yag Tiger's got such a powerful gun, he went right through. But as you can see, the gun mantlet was fairly strong. I didn't have any gun damage like in some of my other games I've had, but for the most part the line was able to do what it needed to do, and it it was able to hit the enemies from far away while not taking too much damage itself, and that's kind of what you need to do. Use your hit points later on in the game when you need to, and just try and have the longest games possible, because you can't shoot fast enough to play the DPM game. You've got to try and drag the games out and get as many shots as you can in over time. That's kind of how I like to play my Lion. It's not an exciting tank really to play, but I mean, I've got a 3.5 or 3.8 kill to death ratio in it and 67% win rate or something ridiculous. So something about the tank jives with how I play. I'm not sure why. It's very similar to the Tiger, but I find this thing doesn't take damage, and it's, I don't know, just something about it that is better than the Tiger II for me. I think that's primarily comes down to the accuracy in the gun. I like the characteristics of the tank a bit better than the Tiger II. It's a lot slower than the Tiger II, but generally I like it quite a bit. So just to go through the tank quickly one more time, the tank's quite big. It's not very fast. It doesn't go through soft ground like disc ground very well. It won't hit 35 unless it's going downhill. The gun depression is actually -8. I was wrong. It's not -7. It has received buffs lately, so it does have better side armor than it used to. And basically the best thing about the Lion is its gun. If you like to snipe and you like to try and just whittle people apart, this is one of the tanks that I would recommend for that sort of thing. If you're looking for a brawling tank to smash people in the face right up close and just sledgehammer their jaw apart, like, go get an IS-6. If you want to play more of a tactical sniping type role, then the Lion is more the tank for you. You have probably at this point you've noticed that I haven't tried to say the German pronunciation of this tank because I butcher it every time. I just don't do it. I refuse, and I don't think I'm ever going to try again. So it's from this point on, it's always just going to be the Lion, because that's what it means, and that's what I'm going to go with. So at the end of the day, I think the Lion is a great tank. I like it a lot. I don't think it's worth $56, like I don't think any of the premium tanks are. But if you're going to buy one, I think this or the IS-6 is a good choice. I don't really think the T-34 is that great of a choice because it seems to be pretty slow. It has really bad hull armor, way worse than this. And I don't know. I just don't really think that it is better than the Lion, but I haven't driven one, so I can't fully make that decision. But at the end of the day, the Lion's a pretty strong, heavy tank. It makes pretty decent money, and that's kind of the point. And it will help you train up your heavy tank crews if you want to get the E100s and the Mouse and any of the other tanks and have decent crews on them. So yeah, like, this was another first-class mastery game. Again, not a full mastery game. So I'll be hunting that down, and hopefully in the next little while I can get that. But thanks for watching this review, and I will see you again next time. Auf Wiedersehen!